Here we are.
This is a super fun one.
Yeah. So what is the thing that Dave Ramsey and Suze Orman agree on? They're very different, strong financial personalities. Wow. For anybody who doesn't know them.
Okay, yes. What do they all agree on? And you agree also.
All three of us agree.
All three of us agree. Well,
and we are all three pretty different people in a lot of different ways.
Yes, I agree too. And I'm very different.
So, yeah, the thing that they all agree on, I guess that we all agree on, is that you should have life insurance.
There you go.
I think that's the short answer. Mm-hmm. You know. So before you turn off the podcast and
let's talk about death.
Let's talk about it. And
this is honestly something that no one wants to talk about, but I think as Christians we can walk in this conversation with grace and think about it like, yes, my time on earth is limited. Like we can look at it with an eternal perspective, knowing that when we go to heaven, it's going to be wonderful and amazing. Yeah. And that if we leave Earth sooner than we plan, that God is still in control and he's still going to take care of the people that we leave behind. So we can just start it off with that. Start it off on a positive note.
Yeah, so I remember my life was heavily impacted by this because I remember being about our son's age, probably 9 or 10 or something. And my favorite uncle was just one of those fantastic and great guys. Loved being around him, and he was always there. And I remember this one time we were at my grandma's house. I think we had just celebrated a big birthday party or something, and my dad and my sister and I were leaving, and a car was parked out in front of her house. And so we all went and got in the car, and we're getting ready to drive off. And my Uncle Rick comes out, and I remember him walking over to the window, and he was just saying bye, and it was just kind of just interesting because he followed us out of the house to say bye. And I remember having a conversation with him. My dad was going to help his son with baseball. And anyway, it was just like a 5-minute conversation at the window of our car before we pulled off. And I remember leaving just thinking, oh, that was really nice of him. And what was so, I guess, I don't know, what happened next was just crazy. It was just 3 or 4 days later, we got a call and he had died. And in his hotel room,
young man,
out of the country. And he's actually younger than I am right now when he died.
In the country, out of state, right?
Yeah, out of state, yeah. And I remember just being like, whoa. Because that was the first death that I experienced of anyone remotely close to me. And I remember thinking he was so healthy. It was so unexpected. And anyway, and I was thankful for that moment that I had with him that he followed us out to the car. I mean, it was almost as if he knew, or God was trying to give us this last moment with him. But anyway, that was a really impactful moment for me, just in terms of death in general. But then the interesting thing, so similar to our dynamic, where he was the one who ran their financial house, and he was the one who had everything set up and all the stuff. And my aunt was, I think, just not as involved in the day-to-day and the financial side.
Right.
So he set her up really well, and he had a good life insurance policy and a whole bunch of other things kind of in order for her. And that foresight, that wisdom left her in a decent position. You know what I mean? So yes, of course she lost her husband. That's terrible. And, and their kids lost their father. Right. But just having some of that taken care of made their situation
so much easier,
more manageable,
right?
For lack of a better term,
Right.
And yeah,
it just wasn't anything extra added on.
Yeah.
To the loss.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And I remember posting something about this a few years ago on Facebook, and somebody reached out where, I'm just doing my part and encouraging people to get life insurance if they don't have it and you have a family and all that stuff. And a woman reached out and she said this. She said, I totally agree. In 1995, my husband of 9 years died and we did not have term insurance. I was left with 2 small boys and very little money.
Oh.
When I remarried in 1998, that was the first thing we purchased as husband and wife. Thank God I've not needed it, but it's nice to know it's there just in case.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, so it's just one of those things where it's it's easy to just blow that off for another day, but we don't know.
Well, yeah, and there was a woman in our community too who her husband died suddenly. She had 2 small kids.
This was about a year ago or something, right?
Yeah, it was just over a year ago, and it's the same thing. She called us asking us for can I just ask you some questions? I mean, was our honor to serve her in that way. But there's sometimes where it's like, if there's just a little bit of cash flow coming in, it takes off the burden of having to make really big decisions really fast after a death.
And that was their situation. She, I think all they had was maybe a $25,000 policy he had at work or something pretty small. And so she had never worked, right?
Yeah, she wasn't working. She was homeschooling.
Yeah,
and she
so
had, like,
her
more of a
whole
baby.
world got completely turned
Right.
upside down. Of course, instantly losing your husband or unexpectedly losing your husband. Then
Yeah.
now it's like, all right, now I got to get into the workforce. Now I have to figure out
Quick,
schooling for
yeah.
my kids
And
because I can't
daycare
homeschool anymore.
and-
Like,
right.
anyway, so she was just left with a challenging situation that was more challenging than it should have been. And this was part of it, you know? And so all that to say, that's our little nudge and encouragement in this whole thing, is that it's worth it. And this is the time of year where it's like, all right, it's the beginning of the year. Like, take stock of your
Right.
situation.
Well, and you said that thing earlier where it's like this just little piece of wisdom. It's like, pray and pray and believe God that we'll never need to use it. But like, we're making this a year of wisdom. Make this choice. Do something about it, right? Create a will if you don't have it. It's like get all the gross stuff out of the way that you don't want to have to think about. But one of the motivations for me in this is like we talked about creating a will, and it was like, you know, they ask some tough questions. Where do your children go if you both die? And I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. But the other side of it is much more complicated. If I don't make that decision,
Then someone else makes that
someone
decision.
else will make it, and I don't want anyone else making that decision.
Yeah.
So it's all tough and hard to do, but
it's
it's
worth
the
it.
wisdom.
Yeah.
It's just the wisdom.
And with life insurance, so I'm going to tell you where we've gone. So the last 2 different times we've gotten a policy, we use a company called Policy Genius. And the reason I like them is because they are like a hub where you go in and enter your information. They'll give you quotes from a lot of different actual companies. And so what's great about this is different life insurance companies price things out differently. So if you're a smoker, you might get a better rate at this company than you would at this one. Or if you're closer to whatever, 70 years old or whatever, 60 years old, whatever, like
That's super
different
helpful.
ages are going to affect the rate that you get at different companies. And so that's why using a tool like this is so helpful. And so that's why I've gone to used Policy Genius the last couple of times when we've done this. So I'll link in our description below, or if you want to use the link, seedtime.com/PG, just PG, short for Policy Genius. So we're partnering with them on this, but I'll just let you know, we appreciate if you do use that link to click and to go over there because we use all of the referral commissions that we get from them to fund our giveaway pool. Okay? And so
There's some incentive for you.
If you weren't in our last giveaway, we just ended a $1,000 giveaway that we announced the winner right on Christmas Eve. And we are going to be doing a $2,000 giveaway in the not too distant future. So keep your eyes open for that. But the point is, those giveaways are funded from people like you. If you're going to go use Policy Genius anyway, just click the link, and then we're throwing that into the giveaway pool so that we can bless you or someone else in the SeedTime community with it. So again, and for anybody who doesn't know, like we aren't shills. We don't work with a lot of different companies. We only promote and talk about things that we use and that we love and that I would recommend to my mom. And this falls into that category.
Yeah.
So that's why
and your sister.
That's why we talk about them.
Right.
But anyway, so with all that in mind, your homework for today is to either just go get life insurance if you don't have it. Like if you have anyone, if you have a spouse, if you have dependents, like this is just really, really important. And the other thing you can do is if you do have a life insurance policy, just check it, see where you are. Policy Genius also on their site has calculators. So you can kind of determine where you should be and how much, you should have, like what's a good rule of thumb on that.
Right.
So,
because if things change in your life, if you've had any, big life changes like getting married or having a child or moving or anything.
There's so many things. And so in our case, one thing that shifted a lot is like our business changed a lot in the way we generated revenue. And so like that affected what kind of policy I thought we should have for Linda mostly, And so there's just a lot of things to factor in. So just take 5 minutes, just think through your situation.
And for you also, because if, I'm not here,
Don't go,
you don't even
hon.
want to say
Don't
it.
go.
If I'm not here, though, like you all of a sudden have 3 kids that you have to do something with every single day, and it takes away from your work. So, yeah, I mean, it's just good to think through all of it.
Yeah, no, and we originally got you a policy because I think we had to have one for the adoption or something. But now I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Because even though I'm generally the breadwinner, it's like, yes, if I'm in that situation, that's going to be a lot of money out of pocket.
Right.
So anyway, all right.
Although my shopping budget will be cut down to 0.
So we'll be set. That's all it'll take. All right. With that, have a great day, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks for joining us on the SeedTime Money Podcast. And remember, money isn't the goal, but it's simply a tool to help you fulfill your purpose and your calling. And we'd love to help you achieve true financial freedom faster with our email newsletter. So if you want exclusive money tips and hope-filled encouragement in your inbox, head over to seedtime.com to get signed up.